Is this seat taken?
No.
So, can I buy you a drink?
Oh, I don't think so.
Come on, anything you want.
No thanks.
You know, I listen to the Ratcast.
Oh, well, in that case, make mine a double.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Ratcast. I am Dave Gardner, alongside of Anthony Flynn. It is episode 4, the Bobby Orr Show, of episode of a season 24, 25, 2024, 25. We should probably clarify that, right? Because if there might be somebody around from 1924 that might get confused with 2024.
Well, you were around in 1924 for those early episodes.
Yeah, I was in junior high. I don't remember much about that back then. But anyway, yeah, welcome to the show here. Another good intro there by Flnner. That he is really digging into the archives there. That was
I
remember
how
recording
fast
that
I
one.
did that.
I remember recording that one. We were at a restaurant in Holbrook. I forget the name of the restaurant now, and it was one of the Swamp Donkeys in there with his girlfriend. And we kind of staged a little episode there. It was Joe Marinelli, I think his name was, that did that intro for me, and his girlfriend. Yeah, so fun stuff you're finding there in the archives from many years ago.
I'm doing what I can. Like I said, the fact that I was able to put it together. I mean, this is the show that almost didn't happen. So, and we really put it together quickly. It was 12 o'clock, and then it was 5 o'clock, and then it was 12 o'clock again. And, I was like, short order cooking this one together.
You put it together fine, a nice intro, and we got some great guests coming. So what is going to happen here on episode 4? We got a weekend preview of Yellow Breeches. We have a weekend preview of Skate Safe, and also a weekend preview over at Volunteer Park. We got some fantastic guests coming on the show. We're going to have our social media check-in, and it's going to be Where is Flynn Going? Is another segment here. We'd like to see where is Flynn going to be off to here as we have some more games being played out this weekend. And of course, we'll talk about what's going to happen on episode 5 of the Ratcast, which will be next week there. But anyway, today we are live, Flynner, right?
We're live.
Yep. Wednesday at noon is when we usually like to go live here and talk about things going on with the Pi-Ha. I got a question for you though, Flynner.
Sure.
How long does Gatorade last?
Well, I don't know. If it's been sitting around and it's yellow Gatorade, I'd be awful careful. You didn't find that in your truck, did you?
No, I was going through a closet of mine, and I found like how they come in 8-packs. I found several 8-packs of Gatorade, and I pulled them out, and I think I bought them during COVID because they expired in like 2021. Are they still good? You think 3 years later?
I don't know.
I'll tell you what. When
if you drink it and you're not here for episode 5, we'll all know the answer.
Well, what I'll do is I'll put them in the car, and when I go to one of the festivals, I'll just bring them down for the guys. How about that?
There you go. You heard it here. Dave's coming to some festivals.
I'm supplying the drinks for the festivals. Yeah. I thought that was weird. I found that's like, holy cow! I found a whole bunch of water and Gatorade in there. I'm like, I think 2021, 2022 is a little bit too old for Gatorade to be hanging around. So we're gonna.
Did you put that Broncos banner up because of that big win over the Jets?
Did I?
I don't know.
I swap those up every once in a while because I do a lot on YouTube myself, and every week or so I got to swap those up. And no, that just kind of went up by accident. I've always liked that Denver Broncos logo. I'm a big logo guy, and I did like that. So anyway.
Well, maybe we pick up some swag for you this weekend. Why I'm where I'm going.
Yeah, I'll wear it here.
Almost let it slip. Almost let it slip.
Yeah, I have a bunch of jerseys to wear, but I don't know how many of the teams still play, and I wouldn't want to have any issues if I brought on some certain jerseys. I have T-shirts and hockey jerseys here, and I still wear them. In fact, you know what I was wearing today? It was my Las Vegas Aces jersey. It's pretty faded and pretty worn, and it doesn't quite fit anymore because it was a medium, and it's a little big on me, but it's no joke. I was wearing my Las Vegas Aces shirt, and I still have a lot of those jerseys there, with the hockey jerseys or the T-shirts from the old teams when we used to travel around and do that. But anyway, so a lot of things to talk about here. So, Flynn, we did not have any games last weekend, correct?
No games last weekend. Last weekend, we kind of set aside for the Nashty Cup in Nashville, but unfortunately, that event didn't happen, as
Oh
you
my
can all
God.
imagine. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That was just like it almost looked like the ocean, just one big wave just washed over Florida and Georgia and North Carolina and Tennessee. It was just a wave of water. It was the devastation's unbelievable.
And we'll touch on that when we start talking about our volunteer park event, because that event was affected by this. And so was one of our teams, because we have a team out of Asheville, as you can imagine. We'll touch on that later. Not the right time to even, think about bringing up, somebody from that team, because, they're just getting their lives back together.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that when we talk about volunteer park in
Yeah.
that later. So
Anybody that played up here at the Holbrook Sports Center can relate to that, because we had several floods, in our parking lot. In fact, it picked up the dumpster and slid it around to the front of the building. That's what the flood did. It actually went into the building. It picked up the floor and moved the floor on the rink.
yeah,
So
I know they lost their rink completely in Asheville, and
no.
hopefully the hockey community can kind of help them when they get back up on their feet. Can help them get that back up and running. Because I don't think anybody wants to see anybody lose a rink. Obviously,
No.
we lose enough of them organically. So
yeah, that's terrible to hear. Didn't want to hear that kicking off the show. All right, so where do you want to go first here now, Flnner?
Well, let's talk about the week ahead. We've got 3 big events. So obviously, 2 weeks ago we started the league, kind of a little soft open up at Skate Safe, where we had 2 divisions of minor league teams coming together, 10 teams. Well, this weekend we have 28 teams going over 3 events. So it's going to be a busy one. So pretty much everybody on the East, except for the pro guys that didn't start 2 weeks ago, are playing this weekend. So it's going to be a lot of action all across those events. All across the region. And the first event we're talking about here is going to be out at Yellow Breeches. Now, Dave, that's Harrisburg.
Okay.
Jay Mazer runs that rink. Formerly, what was the name of their old place? Oh man, I can't even recall it. Susquehanna Sports Center. That was the name a lot of the old timers will remember. Well, a couple years ago, they moved to Yellow Breeches just off the PA Turnpike, and we've got all of the minor and all of the semi-pro teams in the Atlantic Division coming to play each other that weekend. So it'll be a back-to-back festival is really what this is. This is in the morning. We're starting out with the minor guys. They're all playing each other in a round robin pretty much. And then as soon as they're done, referees and the scorekeepers are going to keep powering right through, and then the whole another set of 5 teams come in as the semi-pro guys kick off. So you can see our teams listed here on our nice looking graphic up in the upper right. That's the minor teams: the Marple Gladiators, Inline 309 Stingrays, Steel City Shockwave, Susquehanna Scream, and the Pottstown Rink Red Iron Knights.
Yeah, it looks like they start at 10 a.m. on Saturday, October 5th with their games.
Yep, 10 a.m. Couple things to note there. The Inline 309 team is primarily the team that had played the last couple of years in semi-pro. They struggled a little bit there, but they've got some really good players. I know they picked up a couple guys, and I think they're going to be a strong team in the minor league division. Susquehanna Scream, they're the home team for that event. They were the champions 2 seasons ago, Jay Mazer's group. I know that Gladiator team plays out of my rink, and I've seen a roster for them to get a lot of older heads on that team. So that's going to be interesting to see. They kind of went the opposite direction, and they're kind of going older. And then the Steel City Shockwave, I know they're they had a couple key pickups this year. Just like Inline 309 did this year. Last year, they moved down to that division and fared well. Played pretty, had a pretty decent season, and I know they picked up a couple of guys. To preview our first guest, Nick Pilati will come on and talk about that, and we'll hear all about that. Nick's a great guy to have on because he's been around since 2003. We can kind of really, go back in a little time warp with him and talk about, a lot of things. So he's really kind of almost gone wire to wire here with Paya. And the semi-pro, the Fusion Blizzard are back again this year after a good opening campaign last year. The Iron Knights, who had a much improved season last year, almost beat the Gladiators. They lost 2 1-goal games in their playoff matchup. Propel MG are back after a very disappointing finish to their season last year, where they couldn't field the team in the playoffs because their goaltender was unavailable, and they didn't manage their roster properly. So they'll be back. I always expect good things from them. They're always a strong team. The Gladiators were the 2-time champions, got knocked off by the Deuces last year, who went on to win it all. And the Barons, who really fell into that Deuces hole, because the Deuces, after winning it all, they hung it up. Now the Barons also playing out of the same rink, Northeast Racket Club. A couple of familiar names there, a couple ex-Deuces. We're interested to see what's going to happen with those guys. So that should be a great event. Obviously this is the events that happened and are happening at Skate Safe up here in the Northeast are cross division, whereas this is within division. So we'll really get a good look at the Atlantic division to see how the division's going to who's the strongest team, who's come out, pretty good.
I need to take a look at that Scream jersey at some point. So, I mean, when we get to our social media part of the show, we got to see if we can find some Scream jerseys. You could get really creative with that logo and that look.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Well, and the Screamer, they kind of grew out of the old Lunatics. I mean, that's the same core there. For a little while, they were the Harrisburg River Monsters, and then they became the Scream. There's been a push from the league to say, hey, let's get back to the Lunatics, because I know the Yoders, like having those original teams, and now the Typhoon didn't come back this year, and the core of their team merged with the Gladiators, because the majority of the Gladiator semi-pro team from the last couple of years is playing pro, so they had a hole in the. It looks like, I think Matt Engel and Scott Ives got together and said, hey, let's put it together so we can both field a team. I see we have a green room full of people too ready, so good job by those guys.
It's very green. It's very green, but.
Yes, there we go. So, hey, why don't we go right in and
Yes.
bring our first guest in here? Guys, no stranger to the Pie House, been around forever. Mr. Nick Pilati from the Steel City Shockwave. Let's bring him on there.
How you doing, guys? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey there, Nick. How are you, buddy?
Doing well, thanks.
Good. I see you got those new jerseys from Unify hanging up back there.
Yeah, definitely a shout out to Unify and Steven. Did a great job from the design part all the way through to getting them into us. We had to rush it, but he got them in a week and a half. So definitely did a great job getting them done. We all know how long that process can take. So him and his group did a great job getting that out to us, and we're excited to have them for this weekend.
Hey, Dave, you think that Stephen Campbell will send us some royalties for that plug?
I hope so.
I better get a part of it.
Good to talk to you again, Nick. We haven't talked in a long time.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Dave. I'm glad that you guys are back up and running. I know that, you guys, I always enjoyed the Ratcast back in the day that you guys used to run everything. So it's good to have you guys back up and going again.
Nice. I'm looking at the jerseys there, and I like what I'm seeing. It looks like you have two different styles for home and away, not just like a reverse color thing. It looks like you have a different logo for the blacks and then a different logo for the whites. I always like that when teams do something just a little different, not drastically different, but something a little different for the home and away jerseys.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do with Shockwave. Shockwave was a team name that I had when I first started in the league, back when I used to run teams out of Iceline in Westchester. It was a name that I had, and decided to bring it back. And only so many things you can do with a logo. So we had an S logo somebody designed for us that we love, and I know Stephen Campbell did a great job of coming up with the word Shockwave in a different font that we felt it would be pretty cool to have on a jersey as well, just to kind of keep it a little bit different. Not a big fan of the, like you said, the same logo on both, so try something different. So they turned out really nice. The pants are pretty cool as well to kind of match everything, so we're excited about it.
Who come up with the color scheme?
Color scheme was me. I guess back in the day when Pittsburgh had a lot of teams out here, it's kind of fallen a little downhill, unfortunately. But I was just looking at all the other teams' colors and just trying to figure out what color scheme to go with when I was creating my own organization after leaving Inferno. So I was thinking about going purple and gold like the old LA Kings, and going off of that, but it just kind of evolved into black and purple. Purple was like one of the colors that weren't used out here, and I was wanting to go with orange and black, but I didn't feel that most of the people in the Pittsburgh area would want to play for me if we were orange and black, so I had to make that executive decision.
You know,
You
I
got a
never
lot.
realized how big that Pittsburgh Philadelphia rivalry was until I started taking the trips down that way, and I saw the headbutting and the hate going on, and I was like, "Holy cow!" Up here in the Boston area, we had no idea that Pittsburgh and Philly were that competitive.
Yeah, it was me moving out here from the Philadelphia area and taking over a facility, and everybody I knew out here was obviously sports fans, Pittsburgh sports fans. So got a lot of bashing and a lot of trash talking, obviously, and unfortunately, the first year that I moved out here was statistically the Flyers' worst season ever. So that didn't go over well, and been counting down the days for the decline of these Penguins and Sidney Crosby. So hopefully that's not into the near that's in the near future here.
I remember Ruppy and I were down in the Philadelphia area for an event many years ago.
Indeed.
And Philadelphia, I know Boston was in Philly, or Philly was in Boston, the ice hockey teams. And the Philly guys were rubbing us pretty hard about being Bruins fans. And I think the Bruins won 8-0 that night. And the Flyers fans had nothing to say the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, that's probably good for you if you were attending a game in Philadelphia and your team wins. As long as you're respectful, you're in good shape.
No, we were at the roller hockey rink. We weren't at the game, but they were updating us on how Philadelphia was going to beat the Bruins so bad.
Yeah.
And I think it was like an 8-0 Bruins win. And so
that's typical of a Flyers Penguin or a Flyers Bruins game.
Except 2010. Except 2010.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So, Nick, tell us about the squad this year.
Yeah, we're excited. Have a bunch of guys coming back from the past. A couple of guys, Jack Shirley, Bobby Ross, Jory Rogers. My current line mate, defensive partner, John DeMarchi, Scott McNugger. Got a bunch of guys that are coming in that that we've had. It just seems like over the last couple of years. It's obvious, and Flynn, you've seen a lot of our games. Teams tend to, double team and double cover me all the time when I'm on the rink. So it's hard for me to do all the scoring. So it's nice this year to add a little firepower. We added Kyle Rosendale, who has I've known him since he's 14 years old. So I've seen him growing, one of the most impressive hockey players I've seen. So we're excited to add him, get him back in. And then, a couple other guys, and Marco DeLisi, who I've coached. It's kind of, actually, to be honest with you, I've coached pretty much everybody on this team since they were kids. And that's one of the fun things that I have in this experience is, playing at 45 years old, and my time's coming to an end here at some point. But it is so much fun going out there and playing with guys that I've coached, and I've known their families and known them since they were young. So I really feel like we got the firepower this year to really kind of put us over the edge. We had a nice opportunity last year. We did win a playoff round. And I got a chance, ultimately losing to the Trash Pandas in a good series. So no shame in losing to them. Since
sure, and they went on and won the whole thing.
Yeah, and a good group of guys. So that's all. It makes it a little bit easier.
So I'm looking at the Keystone Division in which you guys play out of, correct? Is it the Keystone Division?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's 5 teams in that division. How many times are you going to play these other teams, and what's the playoff going to look like there? How many teams come out of that division in the playoffs?
You want me to take that, Nick?
Yeah, I think it's 4 from what I've tried to pay attention to in all the conference calls, but I think it's 4 teams.
Yes, 4 teams, Dave. So they'll all play each other 3 times in that division, and then 2 of the festivals will be against the other two divisions. So there'll be a weekend where those guys will play everyone from the Atlantic, and one where they'll play everybody from the Metropolitan. And the 3 other weekends are going to be like this weekend, where they're playing kind of a round robin with each other. So you'll play everyone in your division 3 times, everybody out of your division once.
Okay, and then you'll have the top 4 teams will have a playoff.
Top 4 teams, and then the winner of this division will go to Colorado with the winner of every other division. We have 6 divisions this year. The 3 up here in the Northeast that I mentioned, the Southeast division, the new Southeast division, and then Colorado grew, at a bigger rate than we did, particularly at the minor division. They've got 9 teams, I believe, out this year across across, or 9 or 10 across 2 divisions, which they're calling like Rocky Mountain North, Rocky Mountain South, I think, or East and West.
Nick, in your own division this season, who do you think is going to be your biggest rivalry? Biggest rival? What rivalry is going to be the biggest, you think?
I mean, after playing these teams the last couple of years, I mean, they all get to be rivals. Obviously, the Gladiators have always had success, so they're always good. You always love playing against Jay Mazer and his boys out of Harrisburg. Obviously they won 2 years ago, so it's always fun to play them. I mean, it's just kind of like one of those things, just kind of like in the NHL, you play these teams over and over, you get those rivalries, and, it's always competitive games. It's fun to play.
Oh, nice.
Well, you got a big weekend coming up, so we'll be, recapping that next weekend. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see how well the Shockwave did. Now, Nick, one of Dave's favorite teams in the past, we're going back in the past now, was the Quake. So I got to think he's going to have an affinity to the Shockwave.
There you go. See,
you got to feel the shake. You got to feel the shake.
We'll take any support we can get.
All right. Well, Nick, best of luck to you guys this weekend. I won't see you this weekend, so you can start narrowing down where Flnner is going to be. But good luck to you guys, and hope you guys have a great season.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Shout out also to our goalies. I just want to make sure I give them some love that we have. I know I talked about the scoring power that we have. We got 2 good goalies, and Jonathan Grapes and Jesse. I don't even know how to begin to pronounce his last name, Kolachowski, I think. And then we also have 2 young players coming in that we're bringing into the adult division. So we're looking forward to it. But I appreciate you guys doing all this. Always a pleasure talking to you guys.
All right, Nick. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, we'll have to have Nick back on one day to bring up that 2017 final from years ago. It's one of the real highlights. One of the real highlights of the Pi-Ha history. So one day when maybe we have an off week somewhere and we're looking for some content, we can kind of dig back into the annals of history and talk about that one.
That would definitely, that was a epic series, and something I'll always remember.
It doesn't sound that long ago, but it was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Any years ago for me is a long time ago.
All right. Well, Nick Pilati, thanks so much. Good luck to your boys this weekend, and we'll see you soon.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
So I'm thinking, Flynn, trying to figure out where Flynn is going to go this weekend. And then you start bringing up the Quakes and the Shockwaves. And if I had to place a bet right now, I think you're going to be going to the Shake Shack this weekend.
It's possible.
It's possible, right? We're thinking Quakes and Shakes and Shockwaves. You're going to be at the Shake Shack. That's right. That's what it's going to be.
Right. We'll see I'll see if I can throw that on the Instagram. All right. Well, Dave,
so what do we got coming up next here, Flnner?
All right. Coming up next, let's hop on over. That was Nick Pilati from the Shockwave. So coming up, Skate Safe. We're back at Skate Safe this weekend, but this time with the semi-pro. Same 2 divisions are going to meet, just like we did with the minors a couple weeks ago. Now the semi-pro teams from the Atlantic and the Metro are going to square off against each other at Skate Safe. Same time, 2:00 start on Saturday. And this is going to be an interesting one because obviously we went from 2 divisions to 3, but the Northeast division in the past was always so very competitive, and this is all of those teams returning plus a couple new teams, which I should certainly mention here. The Revolt Lightning. We're going to speak to their general manager and captain Chris Murphy here in just a moment. He built that team kind of out of the ashes of the Iska Grizzlies. The Trash Pandas. Now the Trash Pandas were the we spoke to Phil Townsend during our first show. Mm-hmm. When he called in on the 1980 cell phone, remember? They won the league, as Nick had mentioned. They moved the majority of that team up with a couple pickups. The New York Lebeda Whip. This is a team of severe veterans. This is Vinny Camito, Favellaro, a bunch of these guys. And we were talking guys that are over 50 years old, along with some youngsters, but these guys can play. Yeah. They can certainly play, and I think they're going to be a tough competition for anybody because there's not going to be a smarter group of guys on the floor who know how to win than that team. The Suffolk Sting need no introduction to the Pi-Ha. They were in the championship game last year, having lost to the Deuces, but they're back looks like an even stronger roster this year. The Long Island Blazers are back again. I know they've picked up a couple people that were on the Flamingos last year and a couple others. They'll always be a tough W. The Champion Impact are also back. Always a tough game with Phil Russo's guys. Now the New England Rebellion, they played pro last year. Really struggled. They're moving down and playing, but I really think that's kind of a merger with the Misfits group, with Johnny Pinero's Misfits. So I would say it's kind of like half and half of those teams. They're going to be
where are they playing out of?
They play out of Longplex in Tiverton, Rhode Island. And we are having one event up there, I believe, in late January, very end of the season event there. So that's going to be a team to keep your eye on. The Empire State Legends 2 years ago found their way to the final and lost in overtime to a game that you called between the Snipers, who was the last team I'm going to mention. Those two teams have been the class of the Northeast Division for the last couple seasons. So Daniel Nelson and the Empire Snipers are a very top tier group. The Snipers, they did a lot of reorganization and shuffling of where people were. They did some pickups. They picked a couple guys up from the Goofers last year. They're going to be a very strong team as well. So these two divisions are just going to be so exciting to watch all year long to see who comes out on top. We have a bunch of these new teams that we don't know much about yet, but we're going to get a really good look at it this weekend. How will the Trash Pandas do as they move up? This is going to be a really good one to watch this weekend to see where these teams stand.
Mm-hmm.
I expect a lot of teams to be 2-2, 3-1s, 1s and 3s, as opposed to a bunch of 4-0 and 0-4 teams at the end of this weekend.
All right. Well, I guess we'll find out, right?
We sure are. So, what I had mentioned, we have a couple of new teams, and one of the new teams is the Revolt Lightning, and we have with us today their captain and general manager, Chris Murphy. So let's welcome Chris. First time for him on the show. Happy to bring him in. Hey, Chris. How are you, bud?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Good deal.
Hey, Chris.
Hope you're not driving.
No, I'm parked.
Are you at the Shake Shack?
No, I'm not. There's one close by, though.
Dave wants some cheese fries. He's always on the hunt for some cheese fries. So, Chris, tell us a little bit about how the Lightning came together. How you decided to put this team together. We'll talk a little bit about your roster because I saw a couple of legacy names on there we could talk about. But for sure, how did this come together?
So, the majority of us played for the Grizzlies last year. Most of that team was together for 2 years last year and the year prior. I joined last year very late. So a couple of guys that were around, they tried to, I kind of helped out, and we tried to put together a team for this season with Dennis and the Grizzlies, and kind of struggled through the summer. And Dennis does a nice long trip over into Europe. So he kind of wanted to have everything done by then, and it just didn't really work out. So me and two of the other guys just really kind of pushed through late July and August to get a team together, and most of the guys we all play against or play with at ISCA, and really just kind of nagged even some of those older guys, the Chris Wolfs and the Robbie Fultons, just kind of nagged them until they finally agreed to be in and play with us this season.
Yeah, I think that that was what those Grizzlies teams were missing. They battled so hard. They were missing a couple of vet leaders, some one or two more punches that could really help put the puck in the net. And obviously, those two guys are they're no new names to Paiha or anything like that. Those guys, if we had an all-time scoring list, they would definitely probably be in the top 20. One of my pet peeves with our system that we use at Hockey Shift is that it doesn't generate like a year by year
a career stat type of
career. Well, it'll do career stats for people, but it won't do like I email them at least once or twice a year and say, hey, we really need to get on this. That's right. I forgot that you're using the same system up there with your
4 or 5 years now. I love them.
Yeah, I do too. It's one of my pet peeves there. That and the fact that they alphabetize everyone by the first name. That's hilarious, Dave. But anyway, so back to Chris here. Chris, so you got your first weekend this year. Well, how about the Revolt Lightning? Tell us a little bit about where that came from.
So we have not many, but there's a few guys that play up in Morristown as well. One of our Billy Compagnon plays up there. And when we were kind of in flux on who's, if we're going to play or not, he had mentioned that Tom Bowers from Morristown was interested in getting involved and helping us put a team in. So I actually met Tom this summer at a tournament at the American Dream in East Rutherford Mall. And he was very interested and he helped us out. He created our jerseys, which I know Flnner, you've seen this morning. We just put them out. They just came in just in time. But Tom's been great. He runs makes his own sticks, gloves, everything. So he's helped us out with discounts and stuff on some of that stuff.
How did it come about that you took the lead for this project, and how much work has it been?
Like I said, last year was my first year playing, and I really enjoyed it. And when it was kind of came time we weren't going to have a team this year, I just kind of took the lead and pushed with Billy and one of our other guys, Chris Peterson. Just kind of pushed to try and get a couple of guys on board from last year, and then try and grab some new faces to try and be a little bit better and more competitive this year. So just kind of took over and tried to get us to have a team this year.
Was the response good from the players?
Yeah, for the most part. We had a couple guys that played in tournaments with us over the summer down in Marple, which Robbie played in, and we did pretty well. We came in second in the Senior A division, but it was just grabbing some of those guys and having the interest. It would kind of came together for us.
Dave, Robbie, we bring him up, gave one of the most infamous Ratcast interviews of all time. If you remember this back at Skate Safe years ago, we'll have to revisit that maybe. That same weekend where we. A little feedback there, where we are looking for other things to talk about. That could be you, Chris. I don't know if you have your. That's it. Okay, good. All right. So yeah, Dave, this was an area as you're talking about Chris and how he put the team together. This is the North Jersey area just boomed for us this off season. I mean, the Trash Pan with the success of the Trash Pandas, their organization grew. Obviously, like I said, the Beta Whip guys came in, and then we had we almost had another militia team this year back in the fold, and Chris kind of grew out of this area. So that area really kind of boomed for us. So we're excited that North Jersey, it really ties Long Island to the Pennsylvania, Philly, South Jersey area real well, and we have a good group there too. So, but you got your first weekend coming up this weekend. What's the prognosis? How you guys looking?
We're looking pretty good. We have 9 guys coming. Robbie's actually, we speak of him so much, but he's going to Prague. He's actually on his way there now, I believe. He's going to the Devils Sabres games this weekend. But we have pretty much everybody coming that's our full-time guys. But everybody's really excited, especially when I sent them the jerseys this morning. They all got really excited.
Good. Yeah, awesome. So and those, I'll show you those jerseys, Dave, in a little bit. It was on one of the social media posts we grabbed. But certainly excited to see what this Revolt Lightning team is going to look like. And maybe we'll see you up at Skate Safe. I don't know. Let's see if there's a Shake Shack around.
All right. Well, good luck this weekend, Chris, with everything, and thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on. Chris was our little last-minute savior here. We had somebody bail on us, so Chris kind of agreed to jump in. He just happened to throw me a text message about something else, and I was like, "Hey, what are you doing in about an hour?" So he turned into our Tom Brokaw,
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys.
Chris, thanks so much, and good luck this weekend, and maybe I'll see you.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
All right, that's Chris Murphy. Jumped on for me last minute here, but exciting new team playing out of which is Morristown. Now, if you ever heard about Morristown, we're not holding any games there this season, but what an interesting barn that place is. When I tell you it has a low ceiling,
You
it's
know,
got a
I
real low
was there
ceiling.
one time back in the day. There wasn't any games being played, but on the drive home, we had to drive by it. So we stopped in and looked around, and yeah, there was the low ceilings there. But
I mean,
you know,
yeah.
Holbrook had low ceilings too, and you just got to do what
No, it's way lower than Holbrook. Yeah, it was low. I mean, I maybe 12 feet,
Yeah.
and no buckets above them either.
Gotta have the buckets. You gotta have the buckets.
You gotta have the buckets. So that was our pal Chris there, from the Revolt Lightning. And the next place we're going this weekend, and this is a big thing for the league. This is going to be the official kickoff of our Southeast Division.
Mhm.
We had Ryan from the Atlanta I almost did it again, Dave. From the Atlanta
did.
Phantoms. It's the I have to
It
start
is.
Phantoms with. The Phantoms was on in our inaugural episode this season. But this division is kicking off this weekend, and it's happening right in the wake of the event that didn't happen last weekend out in Hendersonville. But we are kicking off the Southeast Division with all their minor guys and their semi-pro guys both coming out there, minus our Asheville team. We spoke about that earlier in the season. I mean, it was just obvious right away that there was no way they were going to get there. So we really do wish all the players and everyone on that team just get your lives together, and hopefully we'll see them at the end of the month when we're in Atlanta. Hopefully, I mean, it's that bad that we're even talking now like, hey, are these guys gonna be able to get on the 26th of October? Are they going to be able to get to Atlanta? So, we're keeping our eye on that. We did a whole schedule revision this week to kind of change the whole thing. But still, that being said, I know these teams are very excited. The Blades, the Citrus Kings, the Mops, and the Phantoms, both coming, with their semi-pro and minor teams. We've been putting this together for months. I think we had regular conference calls on Sunday nights for at least 3, 4, 5 weeks straight. We just had one this past week to deal with.
Yeah, you guys have been busy setting that up, and it's nice to see that it's finally
A
coming.
lot of excitement here because, like last year, we kind of had this division that was a draft, and it was a cool way to start it. It was like, hey, we had some interest. Let's try a draft, and it did exactly what it needed to do. People played. We got some people out to the final, and they were like, "This is awesome." And it went back, and it was the wake of those people that went back and said, hey, now let's spread the word. Let's get, and sure enough, teams start sending in submissions. And if you're watching and you're not playing in Pi-Ha, you're like, what is Pi-Ha? Boy, I'd love to play Pi-Ha. Go on and submit your team. Even if we don't have a team next season, it builds, and we save that, and we contact you and say, hey, guess what? Maybe we have one now, So, and this is exactly how this division was built. And I expect it to be extremely competitive, and we're excited to start this out in what looks like it's going to be good weather this weekend in Nashville. It should be a good one. I think these teams are not going to be pushovers at all when it comes to the terms to the rest of the league. So we'll keep our eye out here and see what this division's all about. So now, Dave, one of the great things that happened this season came out of the wake of one of the bad things that happened this offseason.
Okay.
We lost our absolute veteran referee, Chris Roach, in the Northeast. He retired as an NYPD officer.
Okay.
And he gave me the unfortunate news like halfway through the season last year. Flnner, I'm retiring, and I'm moving to South Carolina. Which, and we were like, oh man, Chris has been, he's been my guy for, since the very beginning. As soon as I started taking on an administrative role, I always seemed like, Chris was the guy. Even the times when I wasn't here, like Chris would call me and say, Flnner, I miss you. You know what I mean? You got to come back. And eventually I did. He was still there, just trucking along, chucking people out of games or whatever he does. But he's
I still remember the memorable drive to Pittsburgh, I think it was, that he took overnight when the plane couldn't get out or something like that, and he hired the taxi cab. And
well, I think the airline did that, but I mean, that's the commitment this guy has
may
had.
May not have told the taxi cab driver to drive 90 miles an hour all the way to Pittsburgh. That's the rumor I heard.
Yeah, he told him, don't worry. He had his shield. We're good. Make haste. Yeah, but that's the commitment this guy has, to it. He loves it,
He got there.
and boy, was it just perfect timing when this division came together the way it did. And I think I said this during the first episode. If you were to, draw a square, between these four teams and just put a pin right in the middle of it, I think that's where Chris lives. I mean, it's just so. He's going to show his commitment. I think he's got a 7-hour drive this weekend to get to Nashville.
Oh, boy,
But he's a Pie guy. He's got a little Pie DNA running through the blood, I think. So he's going to step up and help lead a new group of officials down in that area that are probably pretty green. But what a benefit for the league and for these teams down here to have somebody who can really kind of steer, the rules, and knowing that what they're doing is what the other teams are doing and how they're playing their game. It's being managed the same way. So, what an asset, that, he's going to be able to help them do that. So we've got him on the horn. I mean, he's been on the show many times. I know he's a big fan, but we're big fans of his. I mean, he's been so great for the league. So let's, no further ado, let's bring in Chris, who just got his power back yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Morning,
Chris. How are you, buddy?
Yes.
How are you? See, you got some lights on there.
Yeah. So I also have my beautiful home behind me, as you can see.
It's nice. We had someone else on the show that had that same house. I don't know if you guys are rooming together, or if you got the same architect, or if you got a good deal on that, or what.
Oh, man.
I had a conference call. We had to renew our insurance here at the rink every year this time of year, because this is when I bought the place, end of September, and the two different people from the same company. Clearly, they were doing this from home, but they very creatively used the pictures in the background to make it look like they were in the same place. But every time they turned, I'd see the green. I could tell that they were chairs and there was a green screen. But like, they had this picture where like they had like a conference room behind them, and then the other guy, they had a different view of a conference room, so they were trying to pull off this like, oh yeah, we're in the office.
Yeah.
But Chris, beautiful home. Thank you. And I'm glad to see those lights are working.
Yeah. It's been a rough 5 days without getting too serious about it. We've lost some people. We've lost a lot of homes and damage. I was blessed enough to not have flooding. And I live literally in the woods, outside of, about 45 minutes outside of Columbia. I live about 4 hours from Atlanta. But yeah, a lot of trees down, a lot of branches. Didn't have any flooding, didn't have any structural damage to the home, but my entire area had no electric. Now, many of us have wells, so we couldn't even get water out of the ground. So it was terrible. I mean, it was like Stone Age, where we're showering at homeless shelters and trying to find water where we can. And thank God the electric came on last night around 10 p.m. It brought new meaning. When you go through five or more days, I mean, I can't imagine going any longer than that without it. I really sympathize with the people who've lost their homes, their livelihoods, and everything. It's a lot of prayers are needed.
Yeah, it reminded me of Sandy during Sandy. I mean, you were living in Long Island. I was living in Massapequa during Sandy, and we went almost 11 days, no power. And depending on how you got your water or how it was heated, I was taking showers at a friend's house who just happened to live on the same street as like the township supervisor, and they got power back the first day. But that's how those things work. But yeah, the devastation. I mean, I remember like we were on Long Island during Sandy, and no one's houses. I mean, there were people on the shore that were destroyed. We were in the middle of the island, and we were without power all that time, but your house wasn't destroyed. It was just like, oh man, like some places were open, some places, and this is a completely different situation. I mean, places are just, when I look at the pictures in like Knoxville and Asheville and stuff like that, it's unbelievable. Like roads destroyed. Man, I don't even know the words to say, but just know that there's a feeling attached to that for those people. So,
yes. So, I mean, my heart and prayer goes out to the boys I have yet to meet yet in North Carolina, and hoping that this will be the only event that they miss, and that they'll be back, and our family will continue to grow down here over the years. And then who knows, down the road maybe we could be a competitor with the Northeast and their talent that comes from
Oh,
there.
I think those teams are going to be these teams I think these teams are going to be pretty darn good. I don't. I wouldn't expect anything less. I think I know a lot of those names on the semi-pro as the roster started coming in the last couple of days. I mean, there's a lot of guys that played Pi-Ha already that I was shocked to see so many, pictures already in place from old teams. I think these teams are going to be pretty good. Watch out for the Mops. Watch out for the Citrus Kings. Ryan's not going to put a team out there. I mean, I know the Nashville team kind of built themselves up, but those other three teams were existing teams that have played tournaments. They're going to be very good.
Well, if we have a good inaugural season, which is my hope, is that we'll attract more attention to the league. I remember when we first started in Pi-Ha, as I'm sure you do, it was a developmental thing. And as time goes on, if you have dedicated people enough to fight the good fight and put the word out there, then things start to come around. And the Northeast, I mean, you look at teams like the Impact, for example, just off the top of my head, just great people. And when they first started out, they were losing every game they were playing. And look at them now, and how they've developed and over the years. And I think that we could do that down here. It just takes a little time to get the word out to everybody. We should certainly see development in Florida, I would think, at the earliest, because roller hockey's always been relatively big in Florida. In South Carolina, we do have two minor league affiliates. One in, I think it's Greenville, and then we have one in Charleston. So it's not like we're completely deprived of hockey down here, although we're probably all Carolina Hurricane fans for the most part.
Well, Asheville, and Jacksonville are really doing everyone a service to see, like, you don't have to have a home rink. Asheville, I wish I didn't even say it that way, but Asheville just lost their rink. And if we get any news, once they put the pieces together on, GoFundMe's or anything like that to help fund, to fund the rink situation there, we will be sure to spread it, every which way we can, including here on the show. But I know there's a good amount of hockey out of Myrtle Beach. In South Carolina, there were a couple other areas that kind of reached out. I knew there was a group in Knoxville that reached out at one point, that Knoxville, Chattanooga area. So we'll see. And like you said, I agree. We've already had an interest from Florida. The second this Southeast Division popped up, that's where the Naples Chaos came from. With their pro team, they could easily put together a semi-pro and a minor team. They've got a very big organization. What else can come together down in that area? There's definitely a lot of hockey down there, and the problem is there's just not a lot of rinks. So if the formula can be like, hey, you don't have to have a home rink to still compete because of the way we're playing, because of the travel, there was no doubt that this division had to operate the way the Northeast did and can't operate the way Colorado does. Colorado's still playing day one hockey where you're playing, two back-to-back games on a day against the home team. When there's a lot more travel involved, you kind of get more bang for the buck, which is what we're doing, right? Like, people are, teams are playing 6 games this weekend in Nashville, and that's to get the bang for the buck, right? They have 2 rinks, so it's going to be great. Games will literally go, minor, semi-pro, minor, semi-pro. So no one's got back-to-back, but there's 2 rinks going, and, but they're getting a lot of bang for the buck because everyone's traveling. I mean, you're driving 7 hours, and some of those teams are going to drive that or more, right? I'm not exactly sure how far it is for the Citrus King guys. Like, I don't imagine it's going to be even further. Well, some people are flying.
Yeah. So, well, for teams like the Citrus Kings, it makes perfectly good sense that they have at least 6 games. I know I'm no millennial and I'm not a Gen Z guy, but when I was younger, when you put together and you had the three roller hockey games are the equivalent maybe of 1 ice hockey game. So if you're playing 6 in one day, these guys make it sound like they're dying after that first 30-minute game. I mean, at their age, I mean, I'm 57 now, and I'm standing out there for 12 games in a row reffing. I know I'm not shooting the puck or stopping it, but still have to stand out there for 12 hours on skates. If I can do it, I don't see why there should be any issues with that. And home ice advantage or home deck advantage means little to nothing in in our league. It's not like the old AIHL where we actually had home and away games, et cetera, at different rinks. It really doesn't mean much. So right now it's just a matter of logistics of traveling. And you were right. I do sit squarely in the middle. I am 4 hours, give or take, 3.5 hours from Raleigh, 3.5 hours from Snellville, or 4 hours from Snellville. And Tennessee is the only really long ride that I have. So,
well, that's the outlier for everybody. And to be fair, I mean, it's a half indoor outdoor rink, and it's why we put the schedule there first. In case something were to happen, we have the whole season to kind of make an adjustment. Because I hate to say this, but Ryan sends me a text message, when the storm hit the weekend it did, and he said, man, maybe we hit the weather lottery, meaning that it didn't affect our weekend. And he said that before the devastation rolled through. We just thought it was going to rain that weekend, and they canceled the event. So and last year, they played in an outdoor rink, down near Atlanta, and I think they canceled 3 of the first 4 weekends. And I know this rink is so popular. I imagine like it's going to grow. There's a number of rinks in the past that have, started as outdoor rinks and have built structures around it because it gets big. This place is very popular. They're holding a number of big events. I know, when we talked to Dylan down there and the group down there, who've been great to work with, by the way, it's just a growing piece of the landscape down in that Nashville area. So and it's run by the county or the township or one of the two. I think it's, but they know what they have there, and I would imagine even years to come, maybe that becomes an indoor place, or they find a way to kind of weatherproof it like RMU does out in Pittsburgh. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be great to get things running, after all the work that's been put in. And it really was a team effort by this group. That's what when this started up, we brought them all in and said, hey, let's do this together. So there's not one person that next season goes, oh, by the way, guys, I'm moving into Mexico, and it kind of fell apart, or whatever. So and they all have, every one of them has had a piece of the pie here as far as like the responsibility, and it will continue that way. And Chris coming in to really handle the one area that, nobody wants to touch because it needs to be the independent one.
Now, Chris, are you going to be refereeing as well? You're going to be out on the floor too?
No, that is what he's doing.
It's interesting. I have the Godfather music in the background playing in my head. I don't remember the Godfather 3 or 4 when Michael Corleone tried to leave, and he said, and then they just pull me right back in. I officially retired from Pi last year, and it was great, the championships that we had, and I on my own, I got a little mushy. It was something that I loved my entire life. I've devoted to hockey in some capacity, and Pi has been family to me, since that time. So I really thought that that was the end of it until Flynn called me about an hour after I retired to tell me that I wasn't allowed.
I think I said it to him in the airport, the Denver airport, on the way home. And then you're not going anywhere.
Yeah. And it's funny that they for years I've been saying, bring Dave back. Bring back all the media guys that we need that added that extra flavor to our league. And, oh no, this, that, and the third thing, and then you come, they drag you back in, and then I tried to leave, and they pull me back in. So it's a good dynamic. I hope to get some of the old timers back in to give some stability to this.
Well, I really feel like we're on an uptick again.
Yeah.
The Paiha, the first couple of years, I mean, I was a part of it from the beginning. I had a team, and I was a general manager and a player and a coach and all those things the first couple of years. And then, I obviously found my place, where anyone who's played hockey with me knows that my place is probably either on the bench or in an administrative role. But
Usually the penalty bench for unsportsmanlike conduct. But
these are my younger days, Chris. I'm a different man now. The league was in a building process, and obviously, before it split apart, and we don't need to get into all that today. Maybe we'll throw that on that show we keep building here on the show, Dave. Where we don't have anything to talk about, but and then obviously we had the two leagues, and then the two leagues kind of dwindled, and they came back together. And in the last couple of years, it's really, to me, has been about building it back and getting everything right. And now, like, we start to see the interest again. And I feel like we're back in like the 2006, 2007 era where like the divisions are starting to build again. And this is the time for the media. This is the time for this is to spread the word now. Let's not just get out there and start doing this stuff when the product needed a little work. Now the product's really good. The finals are fantastic. We really seem to have things put together. There's an expectation with the players and the teams, and now as we start to build, this is why I said we really got to get Dave back. And every year Chris would say to me, "We got to get Dave and Doug back."
Yeah.
So I said, "All right, at least how about Dave?"
Well, there's a few other. You know what? I know that we're on the air, so I'll just try to be. But there are a few others in addition to Dave that I told you that I need back as well. So Dave's the top one. He's my first draft. But then I have a few underneath that I've been talking to you about that need to get back into the fold as well. But I don't know how those names will be taken at this juncture. But you know who they are.
Yeah. Well, I think we're building back better is what we're doing right now. And so some of those guys might fit in really nice. So
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Chris, let me ask you something here. So what are you going to tell some of the newer guys down there that are going to be reffing the Pi for the first time? What are some of the things you tell them?
That's a good question. This is talk about going back to grassroots. Up in New York, I had referees that I worked with for honestly over a decade, and leaving them behind, I know that Flynn had, he's got quality people, and Ben Bruno taking over in the Northeast. You couldn't have a better guy than that.
I wish Ben moved to Tennessee.
You and me both. You and me both. I miss my boys up there. Just on a personal basis, never mind a hockey basis. But we're going to have about 4, maybe 5 referees from the area show up. I don't know who they are. I don't even know their names, and I'm terrible with names to begin with. But the idea is we have 24 games, 12 on each rink over 2 days. So being that it is a 7-hour ride for me and have to make it cost effective for the ride and for training purposes, I have to work with each one of these officials and give them the groundwork of what our expectations are in Pi Hop. Because we all know that there's a rule book, but then the application of the rule book is far more important than actual knowledge of the rule book. And that applies to any sport, whether you baseball, whatever it may be. You have to know the rules, but then you also have to know the implementation of the rules in the given league. So I'm going to have my regular run-of-the-mill chat with them that, this isn't a recreational league. It doesn't mean we go out and axe murder people and open deck hitting. But we are not to be treating this like it's the local 8 a.m. Sunday morning game among the men. This is highly competitive. People are paying to play. You are an employee of Pi-Ha, so you have to have the proper decorum about you, and you want to represent your supervisors properly and the league because you want to attract more players. So all of that, in addition to the rules themselves, working with me, going over things like our delayed penalty call, which can be confusing, about keeping the puck in the offensive half of the surface until a touch-up is made, or if you bring it out, the whistle is going to be blown. Or our behind the net rule, which every year, even up in the Northeast, I have to go over with players to remind them of what it takes to push someone from behind the net. So there are those nuances, as well as what are we calling, in regards to penalties. I've always taught it's anything that takes away a goal scoring opportunity has to be called. Anything that causes a change of possession on the puck, anything that is a intent to injure has to be called. But to tell them they can't have rabbit ears, players can voice their opinions as long as they're not personal attacks upon you. You have to let that go. It's a part of our game because hockey is even though we're not ice hockey, it's still a violent activity. So you have to have some patience with people up to a certain point.
Especially when they're driving 7 hours, some of them. You know?
but seriously though, I mean, like I know I can have a strict approach to the game, but I think most of the players who know me know that what I offer is structure more than anything else, and I don't want.
What about some of the decorum there, as far as, you know, it's all about optics here and looking professional, you know, getting, you know, so before the game, they need to be, you know, the first people on the ice and looking good. And, you know, they can't be sitting there on their cell phones, and they can't be shooting pucks around like they do in the rec league. So that might be different for some of these guys. And that's probably things you're going to have to go over, kind of like the itinerary of what the referees need to do during and before and after a game.
Yes, very much so. I mean, how many times have you gone to a game and you've seen a referee go out there with sitting on the boards, not looking like he's very interested in the game, or overly talking to one coach over another? You know, not hanging out with the players. You know, when he should be maybe talking to his fellow official he's working with, or stretching out. Or then shaking hands with both coaches, one after the other, to make sure that everyone feels that they're equally represented on the floor. Yes, very much so. The things that you mentioned, again, not outlined in the rule book per se, but in some referee handbooks. A level 3 USA Ice Hockey handbook will have that. Yeah, that's also very important. Even down to something simple as having your pants hemmed properly, you know, and wearing the proper jersey or helmet, you know, things like that. Just stepping on the floor, if you look the part, you make your life so much easier when it comes down to the implementation of the rules. I mean, you could be the best referee in the world, you're the second coming of Don Koharski, but if you get on the rink and you look like a bag of rags, no one's going to respect you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Chris, you got your hands full this weekend, but you know, we couldn't find a better guy to throw at this job. So we're so happy that you moved where you moved at the time you moved, and you know, best of luck to you this weekend. I don't think I'm going to see you, even though I wanted to. I had already booked my trip to Michigan next weekend for the start of the pro season out there, and that kind of came together a little bit before this did, and well, at least when the schedule did here. You know, we've been talking forever, but when the schedule finally came together and they were back-to-back weekends, I was like, I just don't think the wife's going to go for back-to-back travel weekends. So, you know, we'll not be there, but, you know, certainly going to be keeping an eye on what's going on down there. And we're glad we've got, you know, good set of eyes back there.
There's already a grassroots efforts to get him back to New York.
You know, it's funny that came up, because that was going to be my last thing before I signed off with you guys. Is you know, I still have a house up in New York that I have to check on, and obviously it's a solid 13-hour ride from here to New York. But if I go up there at some point before the end of the season, maybe I will give you a ring, and maybe I could drop into do a couple of games for Bruno, you know, something like that. So we'll have to see.
Well, we'll see if he's got room for you. I don't know. He's a rookie. He might need to haze you a little bit.
I gotta ask you, Chris. Do you still have that house in the Hamptons, or did you finally sell that?
What house in the Hamptons?
They're right next to Diddy, I think.
Oh,
when you guys used to gotta get your freak off.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Disavow.
You know, I left when Denzel Washington left, so
Gotcha.
I don't know what you're talking about. All right.
He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's starting to sound like he's in that inner circle with the legends. Hey, I'm going to infiltrate that, by the way.
Yes, we are.
Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Chris, best of luck this weekend. We really appreciate you having an advocate for the Pie down there, and safe travels. And glad you got your power back on there. And
yeah, I'll give you some video footage. I'll try to take a few videos as well. Try to send them over to you, and then you can use them maybe for the website or something.
Yes,
that'd be
absolutely.
Great.
Gentlemen,
Dave loves content.
Well, the thing is, you know, Chris was back with us back in the day when we were audio only.
Yeah.
And now we have, you know, what, 10, 12, 15 years later, we have this technology that we're using today that we can put up live interviews, video interviews. We can put pictures. We can put game videos on here now. Imagine what we could have done back in the day with this technology, you know? and that we're
Well,
taking.
if we ever come down to it, and you guys are doing something over the weekend, and you want to check in with me via my iPhone, I could be on the rink and could show off a few of our Southern studs that are going to crush the Impact when they play them.
Nice.
There you go. All right. Well, we appreciate it, Chris, and we're running a little long, so we're going to say goodbye. But
all right, y'all, have
appreciate
a good one.
appreciate having you on, and we'll see you soon.
All right, take care now.
All right. Well, that's Chris Roche, longtime friend of the show and head ref down in Southeast, leading the show for us down there in Volunteer Park this weekend in Tennessee.
Yeah, that's fantastic how that all worked out, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah, we couldn't have gotten luckier. So Dave, what do we got left?
You said we got a social media check-in.
We do. You got a couple social media things I wanted to bring up here, and I want to remind everybody, keep popping that social media stuff out there. We have, as said, this is, I kind of threw this together last minute, the show, but we got a little look here at the Revolt Lightning away jersey, or is that the home jersey? I never know anymore.
To me, white is always going to be home to me. I don't care what they do. White's always going to be home to me. So we just call it the dark jerseys.
Gotcha. The dark jersey there for the Revolt Lightning. And then over here on the right side, the Atlanta Phantoms are counting down to the start of the season and throwing a little shade at the Broadway boys. And then the one down here in the bottom left surfaced right.
Oh, I saw that. That was incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah, that surfaced right after the show, maybe a couple hours after last week when I, kind of threw the gauntlet out to everyone, say, hey, let's get that social media rolling. And there was a lot of good stuff. I thought I had a couple more hours to put the show together today, so I wasn't able to grab all of it. But that was Sean Avery, formerly of the New York Rangers. I think he played for the Stars for a while, and we can't show it on here because it's just laced with profanity. But I mean, he roasted everybody. So he got some good intel from some people. I mean, he took down Jay Muro. Jay Muro is untouchable, especially in this league. He went right after him. He went right for the throat on all these people, and it was a good watch. So you go look for the mustache on Instagram. That's posted there, and we're watching. Keep those going, and we'll get more of them onto the show as we go, and we'll move some of those things around. But yeah, good stuff by everybody there, and looking forward to seeing more of it because it really does help us drive a little bit of the content of the show. So hit us up there, and we're always watching.
Yep.
We're like Big Brother. We're like Big Brother.
We're going to get into that inner circle. We really are.
Yeah, we sure are. Well, speaking about where I'm going, Dave.
Yes, we got to get to the last segment here. Where is Flynn going? Oh my gosh, we're going to have to see where he is headed this weekend. Nobody knows. We know it's going to be a Shake Shack over there. So let's see where he is. And the answer is,
I'm going to the inner circle, Dave. I'm getting ready.
Oh,
I'm
man,
getting ready.
Tom Cruise? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to get into that Legends Inner Circle. I'm headed back to Long Island.
Okay.
Where I plan on infiltrating the Legends Inner Circle.
Oh, is this like Eyes Wide Shut?
Yep. That's exactly what I imagine that these guys are. I'm gonna it's gonna be like the Epstein list, but I'm actually gonna tell who's in it.
Big mansion with the long driveway and the fire going down the length of the driveway, and you got to go in and check your coat, and that's how I envisioned it too.
Yeah, me too.
So Flynn is going to be heading up to Long Island this weekend here as he follows along. All right, so now next week, what are we looking at?
Well, next week we're going to be looking at recapping all of the action. There's going to be a lot of it.
Oh,
so
boy, yeah.
It's going to be a lot of it. And I get
one of the shows that we do want to talk some scores and standings because we have so much to talk about.
Yeah, so much to talk about, and we're going to have a lot of media driven from it. I will be doing the best I can to grab as much I can from Long Island when I was there, like I did last time. And I'm sending up some friends to the event in Harrisburg. Our friends at Puck Pro Media are going to go out there and do a little coverage of that event for us. So we're excited to see what they come back with. And obviously, whatever these guys can grab when they're down in Hendersonville, in near Nashville. Hopefully, Chris and some others can get us some content from there. But again, it's going to be so many games, 28 teams playing. If I do my math, multiply that by at least 2. We're talking about over 50 games, probably closer to 60 since the guys down in Nashville are playing 6 games each. So a lot's going to happen. we can, hopefully have a little time at the end of next week's show to preview the following week, because the following week's a big one too. Rocky Mountain Division is going to kick off, and then the big pros start out in Detroit. Where Flnner's taking a trip out to Detroit. So that's going to be, going to be a big one
running.
Too. We are off and running. Everyone's going, and again, I want to thank everybody who jumped on the show today, because it was really put together last minute. But we're going strong. Another good show in the books, Dave. And happy to
episode 4, baby, and we're already hitting our stride. We got guests on. We have games being played. This is where we wanted to be.
This is so.
Yep.
But everybody who watched, we appreciate you. Our guests, thank you so much. We're running a little long today, and I have to be honest, when I started, I was, I think this is going to be a short show today, Dave. I didn't have very many guests, and I thought we were going to do this at 5 o'clock. I thought I had a lot of time to kind of prep stuff, but we got it together.
Well, that would have cut into dinner time, and you can't do a show on an empty stomach,
Well, and I don't even know where there's a Shake Shack near me here. So, well, I guess we should wrap it up, and we'll see each other same time next week, 12 o'clock.
Yeah, I hope so. Next Wednesday, as we recap a whole bunch of the games that are going to be taking place on October 5th and October 6th this weekend. So thanks for tuning in, everyone, and thanks to all the guests that come on.
All right, see you guys next week.
Wait! Where are you going? I was going to make espresso.